Meet the unspeakable Milo Binder. His new self-titled album, produced by the indefatigable Willie Aaron of The Balancing Act, The Holy Brothers, and The Third Mind, is available right now. If you like John Prine, Jonathan Richman, and Tom T. Hall more than Ed Sheeran, then this one's definitely for you. The Unspeakable Milo Binder, available on Heyday Again Records at realgonemusic.com. Future Prophet Records is at it again, filling the charts with all the greatest hits from another dimension, a dimension where great music rules the airwaves like it used to in this one. Swear Tapes presents Crooked Teeth, available right now on Future Prophet Records. That's Future, Prophet Records.com. Order now.
Some of my favorite records and the records that I go back to most, and the reason that I think I go back to this one so much, is that a lot of my favorite records are records that are kind of like worlds that you go into. Mm-hmm. Like off the top of my head, I'm thinking like DJ Shadow introducing, My Bloody Valentine Loveless, Eno, Another Green World, Miles Davis Bitches Brew. Those are all records that are mostly kind of like instrumental in nature, right? Forever Changes is a song-based album, but it has that same transportive thing to me where it feels like it's a world that I'm in. Like I feel like I'm just walking through a door into some other alternative universe. And there aren't really many song-based records that do that for me, where I feel like it's the songs that are taking me there and not the sonics. To me, it's a leafy neighborhood in some autumn at some non-specific time in your life, reminiscing about things from your past and contemplating the future and what's left of it and what isn't. It sounded like that to me as a young person. It still sounds like that to me as an older person. It's cynicism that comes from a place of romanticism. That's something I really related to at one time. The title kind of is perfect. Forever Changes, things change, things are impermanent.
Welcome to Discograffiti, the deep dive podcast for music obsessives that gives maniacs like you and me the chance to connect with a brotherhood obsessed with rating the entire discography of every single artist and band that ever mattered. I'm your host, Dave Gebroe, and when I was a kid, I thought I loved music. But no, that was only the beginning. I almost lost my life, and in the process, it made music a top priority in a way I'd thought was completely unimaginable. I quit my job, went all in on Discograffiti, and never looked back. And so, with 3 new episodes each week, you're going to gain a comprehensive knowledge of an act's history and output in the time it takes to listen to one album. Each new guest swings a hard left into an area you either had no idea you needed to know about, or know all about and can't believe you're not alone out there. And in this episode, we'll be turning our spray cans on Love! Psst, along with our special guest, Joe Kennedy. This episode is part of a series called 7 and 7 and 7 is, the definitive 21-episode story of Arthur Lee and Love, which I've consciously crafted to act as the ultimate repository of fact and opinion on one of the greatest bands to ever walk the face of the earth, the almighty Love. It includes 13 episodes heralding the return of Discograffiti host OG Joe Kennedy, 6 episodes from a 4.5-hour interview with OG Love mainstay Johnny Echols, and 2 episodes from a 2.5-hour interview with the members of Baby Lemonade, who've served as Love now for coming up on 35 years. This is part 9, a track-by-track exploration of every single song on Love's undisputed masterpiece Forever Changes, which only a fool would argue is not the towering peak of the band's career. Here then is everything you could ever want to know about the songs on this perfectly conceived record. Here are just a few of the many things that Joe discusses with Discograffiti in this podcast. The incredible and tragic story of the trumpet soloist on the opening track Alone Again Or, the jaw-dropping story behind Johnny Echols' double-track guitar solo on A House Is Not a Motel, the only Forever Changes track that was actually a holdover from Da Capo, the very real possibility that Arthur Lee may have actually invented rap music, the one Forever Changes outtake, and an in-depth track-by-track deep dive on every song off Forever Changes. Coming up, we've got incredible deep dive series on Jefferson Airplane with special guests Jack Cassidy, Jorma Kaukonen, China Kantner, and David Freiberg, Quicksilver Messenger Service with Lenny Kaye and David Freiberg again, and a hell of a lot more. So don't miss out. Open up your listening app right now and subscribe. And away we go then! Joe, you want to do the honors, please?
All right, so Forever Changes kicks off with maybe Love's most well-known song. I guess it's their most well-known song, right? It's their with Alone Again Or, written by Brian McLean. This is the song that when I heard this, I was instantly hooked on this band and a total full believer. The switch instantly flipped on. The song is immediately incredibly appealing, and it's like lyric and melody and the playing and the mood of it and the sound of the production. I mean, this is an incredible record and recording and performance of a beautiful song. One of the great album openers, I think, ever, really. I don't really even know what else to say about it. It's we talked about this in the other episode about this being picked as the lead-off song and it being impossible to imagine it any other way, even though it's not an Arthur Lee song. The pinnacle of Brian McLean's musical existence. And it's quite an achievement. It's an incredible song.
I mean, the main thing about this, and yes, it is a totally natural opener. It really captures that feeling of the boundless wonder of the world, like how a child would see the world, just about how interesting and fascinating everything is, except it's writ so large. It's as if it was scrawled in skywriting way up in the heavens, so much so that honestly, there's been a number of occasions where I actually laugh out loud listening to it, because if you're actually watching an adult human being take in the universe in this kind of way, you are watching somebody on drugs, because there is nobody who is beyond a child's age or is not a pet, a dog, or that is flush with this kind of wonder.
That's a good way of putting it.
It's an amazing thing to take in because it's such a large emotion, but something that unfortunately we don't get to experience in an unfiltered way often enough.
It's just incredibly inviting. It's such an invitation into a record. There's such a generous kind of spirit to it. It's one of the only 2 tracks on the record with barely any involvement from Arthur at all. Brian McLean originally wrote the song. It was originally called Alone Again. It was written for Love's debut. It was uncompleted at the time until they broke it out for Forever Changes in the summer of '67. It was inspired by his memory of waiting for a girlfriend, and according to Barney Hoskins, the melody drew loosely on Prokofiev, a piece called Lieutenant KJ Suite.
The essence of the song is the contrast between the positivity of the tune and the bleakness of the lyrics, with the chorus, "And I will be alone again tonight, my dear," finishing with a lone acoustic guitar, closing the song with the opening melody that sounds anything but ecstatic, ending with an E minor +2 chord. Is that right? +2?
Yeah, it's an E minor with like a little F sharp in there.
Okay.
So Johnny Echols says, Brian started Alone Again Or as another one of his folk songs. I started playing flamenco licks and flourishes in rehearsal, and it went from being a folk song to a Spanish-influenced song. I would always rearrange Brian's songs, trying to add something so as to pull them away from sounding like show tunes. Key move. That feel of it being in that flamenco sort of feel. There's something very elegant and sort of stately about it when it's played that way.
By the way, I kind of slipped into a rabbit hole on this next note where I really could have just kept going and going. But that incredible trumpet solo that you hear in this song was played by a legendary studio trumpeter named Bud Brisbois, who played on over 100 albums and had only 3 fingers on his trumpet playing hand. No thumb or pinky. So in essence, he was the perfect trumpet player. This guy was also a manic depressive, and after the dissolution of his second marriage, he quit the music business, became a Porsche salesman, and committed suicide in 1978.
So for this session, which took place September 10th, 1967 at Sunset Sound, David Angel, the string arranger, worked with McLean, adding a string part and a horn part. McLean later said, "That was the happiest I ever was with anything we ever did as a band, the orchestral arrangement of that song." However, Bruce Botnick, and with the bandleader Arthur Lee, remixed the track to bring Lee's own unison vocal to the forefront of the song, at least partly on the grounds that McLean's own vocal lead was too weak. Arthur also added to the mystery of the song by changing the title to Alone Again Or. Johnny
says, Arthur didn't even know how we had arranged Alone Again Or. He wasn't there when we put that together and gave it that Spanish unfinished feel. He wasn't even at the studio when we recorded it. When he heard everyone saying what a great song it was and how great Brian's voice sounded, Arthur became jealous and decided to feature his voice on a record he had absolutely nothing to do with. To make matters worse, Arthur changed the title of Brian's song. That was basically the beginning of the end for the group. And Brian says the harmony is actually the melody you're hearing. You're not really hearing the song the way it's written.
That's
so
weird
fascinating.
To me.
Yeah,
that seems. Well, if you listen to the harmony part, it doesn't really move, right? So the melody's, yeah, and it's all right, not forget times I waited. That has that lovely shape to it.
Yeah.
The harmony stays on one note a lot. Yeah, so that it's all right, and I forget I waited. It doesn't really sound like that's the melody. Like that seems incorrect or something. I'm sure he's not lying, but it seems like that. I guess there's a thing too where the version that's released that you put out into the world, that's the perfect version, right? That's
right.
Like, right. You know, it's perfect how it is. So, but it's hard to imagine it with a different melody or that not being the melody. It seems like that's such a strong melody with such a nice through line to it. Anyway.
Also, this next thing, I always did wonder about this. And I was curious, Joe, if you had as well, about the odd fade up of the guitar in the song's beginning.
Yeah, I always thought the fade up was more gradual. I think that had the effect in my mind where it was like a pretty standard fade in, but it's not. It starts, you can hear the first bar of the song. It doesn't fade in from like infinity and then fades in, right? You can hear him play the first chord. It's just quiet. There's a reason, I guess there's a technical reason they did it. Johnny said, we had a problem with the intro guitar part because it was Brian's song. He wanted to play it. However, Brian played with heavy steel finger picks that you would use in bluegrass. These were loud, not subtle. He hit the top of the guitar with these picks. They turned his guitar down low at the start to try to minimize the noise of his picks on the strings. Then they turned it up as the other instruments come in because they kind of drowned out the noise. I played it with my fingers and it sounded fine to me, but he said he wanted to play it. Now, there's a version of this, an alternate mix of it, that's on one of these box set releases, where it does not do the fade-in. So a couple of things. One, sounds better with the fade-in. I distinctly think it sounds better with the fade-in. It sort of creeps up on you.
Right.
Two, I don't really hear the noise they're talking about. It sounds to me like he's just playing the part. I don't really hear any like clinking bad noise. So,
you know, interestingly, Arthur says, I always wanted to remix that album because Bruce started the build-in too low on Alone Again and you always have to adjust your set to hear it. He wanted to remix the entire album because of that one thing. So, Alone Again was the sole single released from the album to reach the Billboard singles chart. Its 1968 B-side was Arthur Lee's A House Is Not a Motel, although the 1970 reissue of the single featured Good Times from For Sale instead. Track 2, A House Is Not a Motel. On many days, Joe, this is my favorite track on the album. All right, that about does it. To hear the full episode, just visit patreon.com/discograffiti and either subscribe as a private or higher, or just purchase it as a one-off. If you are a fan of the show, please do one of those two to help ensure Discograffiti's continued existence. For over 4 years now, Discograffiti's Friday episodes have been completely free, and it's been my pleasure. But for a variety of reasons, Discograffiti's now moved to the subscription-based Patreon as our primary platform. Moving forward, our public stream will feature a teaser of the Friday episode and a Tuesday teaser of the bonus episode, and that's all. But here's the good news. Only $5 a month will get you the weekly Friday podcast to which you become accustomed. That's it. It's a no-brainer at just $1 an episode. And just that little bit will be what's required to help the show survive. To sweeten the pot, you'll also get regular installments of the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast. That's Rudy Fishman's podcast within a podcast featuring our Patreon members as guests. You'll also get access to over 100 back episodes of that show. The $10 Lieutenant tier gets you all that, plus access to half of the Patreon archive. That's hundreds of additional episodes, plus copies of my personal show notes, which include invaluable research, star ratings, and reviews. But the $20 major tier is the place to be, unless you can support the show on even higher tiers, which, if you can afford it, offers substantial perks, including advertising on the show and selecting the guests and artists I cover. With the major tier and above, you get it all. the Monday bonus episodes, aka the best stuff, the Friday show, the Soldiers of Sound podcast, plus access to the entire archive. That's many hundreds of Patreon episodes, an absolutely endless barrage of music entertainment, including 50 episodes of The Private Press with Paul Major, Rock Cousteau, Queasy Listening, and so much more. So support the podcast that's been supporting you for years. Discograffiti's calling, and it needs you, so don't risk feeling guilty by not giving. But enough of me yapping. Go on, subscribe now. Visit patreon.com/discograffiti and find the tier that's right for you. Stay tuned, because next week brings upon us the brutally painful tale of how Love Mark I fell apart. Okay, here's the week up ahead. This Sunday, our weekly show within a show, the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast, drops for our Patreon's private tier. These are real people with talent and a burning fire deep inside, just like you and I. Then come Monday, the major tier gets a very special treat. Monday's bonus episode is the Johnny Echols interview about the end of love and the incredibly difficult time that he faced in initially moving on. There will be a very short sneak peek running publicly for free on Tuesday morning, but the entirety of the show will only be accessible on the major tier of our Patreon. A heartfelt Discograffiti thanks goes out to my beautiful son Mason, Joe Kennedy, Willie Aaron, Johnny Echols, Mike Randall, Rusty Squeezebox, David Green, Trace Marshall, Rudy Fishman, Becky Boyd, my mom, my dad, my incredibly loyal fans, and especially the entire Patreon community, the Soldiers of Sound. I love every last one of you, and this show would not exist without you, my friends. Speaking of friends, it's high time for some new ones. They're in our Facebook group, Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound. That's the best way to find out what's coming up on the show, but there's a hell of a lot more. You get recaps of the day in music history, the ability to pitch questions to guests, polls that put you in the driver's seat on guest and band decisions, and access to a thriving creative hub if you're looking for a collaborator. So make sure you don't miss out. You can find the link to the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound Facebook page right there in the show notes. And if you don't mess with the Zuck, no sweat. Just email me at info@discograffiti.com and I'll keep you in the loop. So now that it's done and you want more, another way to dive even deeper into the amniotically dark and cozy psychedelic underworld of the 60s and 70s is to leap headfirst into our Spirit series. That's episodes 241 to 249, the Lenny Waronker interview, that's 244 and 245, our ongoing Graham Nash interview in which he talks about everything he's ever done, our 13-episode Moby Grape series featuring interviews with Peter Lewis, Don Stevenson, and Bob Mosley. That's episodes 208 to 214. The Beatles' Pete Best. That's episode 188. Our free design interview with all the Dedrick siblings. That's 160 to 162. Our Mamas and Papas series featuring my 16-hour Michelle Phillips interview, which she says is the best interview she's ever done. That's episodes 141 to 159. My 13-hour interview with Terry Kirkman and Jules Alexander about everything the association ever did. That's 109 to 113. My interview with Vashti Bunyan about her life and everything she's ever recorded, that's 103 to 104. My interview with Os Mutants Sergio Diaz, that's 86 and 87. Lou Barlow on the Zombies, that's 59 and 60. Foxygen's Jonathan Rado on Todd Rundgren, that's 37 and 40. Anthony Fantano on the Velvet Underground, that's 32 and 33. Bob Forrest on the band, that's 25 and 27. Andrew Sandoval on the Monkees, that's 22 and 23. Don Randy on David Axelrod, that's episode 17. And Pink Floyd is 1 and 2. And of course, be sure to mark your calendars, because next Friday, April 24th, we're coming at you with a sweet, sweet deep dive on the end of Love Mark I. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. And so, from now till then, don't let our youth go to waste, lads and ladies. It's Discograffiti!